Part 17. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 162. 161 Earthen Elevator. Fly to the top of Linjiao Mountain. Yekong only found out that this Linjiao Mountain turned out to be a volcano. Looking from the top down, I saw an extremely huge hollow, unfathomable and different from the Earth's volcano. Yes, the top of Linjiao Mountain, that is, the volcanic crater, is full of lush trees and trees, which is why Yekong did not see this as a volcano. Isn't this volcano erupting? Yekong Fi flew over the volcano, still worried. No Lianrulan shook his head and said, 10,000s of years ago, our ancestors of the refining family came here and were surprised to find this dormant volcano, so we built a mountain of elixir here because of the land in the mountainside. The temperature of fire is most suitable for refining alchemy. As for the volcanic eruption, there is no need to worry about it. Linjiao Mountain once produced a soaring fairy. During the Mahayana period, he used the great magical power of heaven to set a ban, which can not only suppress small-scale eruptions, even large-scale eruptions, will be pre-warned. Yekong felt relieved and said on the flying carpet, "Let's go down." Lianrulan laughed, "This crater is the last ban set by the ancestors. How can you get down?" "Oh, it turns out that there are layers of bans in this bottomless hole. Even if the volcano erupts, it is blocked in layers, and only exhausted in the end." Lianrulan nodded, "Yes, that's it." Yekong also had a keen interest in this volcanic head, and asked, "How do we proceed?" "Follow me. Follow the refining Rulan to the temple on the side of the Ring Mountain, where there are several immortals guarding the gas refining period. The fire can't be stolen here, and it can't be snatched, so it is not restricted to outsiders. As long as it is carried by disciples in the door, it will not be blocked and will be released." Yekong followed Lianrulan to a cliff platform behind the main hall. You can see that behind the main hall, there is actually a huge water wheel-like roller. There is an extremely thick rope on the roller, hanging a small house-like gondola. I saw that the roller slowly turned and dropped the gondola from the left side of the cliff, while the right side of the cliff pulled the gondola returned from the bottom of the mountain. Yekong walked into a hanging basket just looking down and looked outside the window. He couldn't help but sigh, this is really a combination of elevator, cable car, and Ferris wheel, but it's a bit slower and the soil is a little bit worse. It's good to say that you appreciate the scenery. Lianrulan gave him a glance, although she didn't understand what the elevators and cable cars were all about, but she heard that the boy's words were more derogatory than he was. "Do you think there is no way for us to go down fast?" Lianrulan said indignantly. "Tell you, we have a teleportation team in the elixir. Do you know what a teleportation team is? Well, we also say that the teleportation thing was very scarce tens of thousands of years ago. Do NT even say that a monk sees it, even if he hears it, he may not know what it is for." But to the surprise of Lianrulan, Yekong immediately asked, "Is it a long-distance teleportation array or a short-distance teleportation array? Do I need a teleportation character?" Although Yekong knew nothing about some aspects, after all, he had read a lot of Xianxian books before, so he knew something about them. Seeing Yekong actually knew the teleportation array, Lianrulan did not hide it, and said, "Of course, the teleportation array of our spiritual medicine mountain is transmitted from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain. The short-range transmission array, I heard Master said, only long-distance transmission. A teleportation order is needed to prevent spatial turbulence encountered during the transfer." Yekong asked, "Since there is a teleportation array, why use the slow and upside-down method?" It seems that the boy is still a little ignorant. Lianrulan laughed, "You do NT understand. Although the teleportation array is very convenient to use, activating the teleportation array requires a very rare kind of fairy jade, instant jade. This kind of jade is very rare. It was mined years ago, how can it be used casually, even our elixir mountain has only a few points, so the teleportation array has been stopped for tens of thousands of years, and it is only used as a means of escape when the volcano really erupts. Oh, that's it. Yekong nodded his head and said in his heart, I don't know if there is any teleportation array that can send himself back to Earth. The gondola slowly descended. Yekong noticed that, every once in a while, a light blue light curtain would obviously be felt outside the window. The light curtain was as thin as a cicada, flat as a mirror, and only passed by. Feeling, you can't see it from afar, it seems that this is the layer of prohibition arranged by the Mahayana monks. As it descends, the light in the gondola becomes dimmer. It is still daytime outside the mountain, but it is just like the evening here. Only the moonstone inlaid on the outer wall of the gondola. From time to time, you can see the light and shadow. The refining Rulan behind Yekong and her beautiful pink face slowly floated on a layer of touching blush. Yekong was looking out of the window of the gondola, and saw an immensely large space with layers of light blue curtains. This scene was shocking many times more than the Hollywood blockbuster. It was amazing. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 163. 162 Elixir Volcano. I don't know how long after that, still in the falling gondola, I feel that the temperature is getting hotter, and even the red light can be seen outside the window. Yekong holding Lianrulan stood at the window and looked down from the small window. The scene was magnificent and spectacular. I saw a vast sea of fire below the hanging basket. The magma in the sea was shaking and shaking, just like the tide. Under the magma, there were bubbles from time to time. When the bubbles got out of the surface of the magma, they would burst open and splashed. The red magma seemed to have a red peach blossom. The area of the Sea of Fire is very huge. It is estimated that Yekong has tens of thousands of square meters. Around the Sea of Fire, there are numerous tubular objects densely arranged. The tubes are arranged in a radial pattern, and each one leads to a closed room. It seems that the ground alchemy room for fire alchemy. What surprised Yekong Zhen the most was that a few hundred meters above the Sea of Fire, there were several independent rooms suspended, without any support or suspension, but hovering on the Sea of Fire, motionless, very bizarre. Mysterious. Is that also the room for alchemy? Why don't you see a pipe for fire? Yekong couldn't help asking. Lianrulan shook her head. It's not for alchemy. Don't look at those houses that are motionless, but they can actually be moved after entering. Yekongki said, move. What's that man doing inside? Isn't it always sucking fire aura? Lianrulan shook her head and smiled, no, this magma will not die for thousands of years, but impurities will be continuously spit out from under the magma. Over time, a layer of black, dry fire will form on the surface of the Sea of Fire. If it is not cleaned, the fire will grow thicker and thicker, so that the surrounding Danfang can't absorb the ground fire. Yekong understood this, and nodded. It turned out that the house was used to clean up the waste on the surface of the magma. This is exactly the same as the boat used to salvage garbage on the East Lake in my hometown. Lianrulan laughed, it's really strange in your hometown. What kind of can there be on the lake? What are these salvaged people doing? Indeed, there are too many of us who are idle and idle. Yekong smiled. Just then, the gondola suddenly stopped. No, it's the end, get out of the way. Lianrulan immediately woke up, and the hanging basket was at the end. If she didn't open the door quickly, she would be pulled to the ground again. Yekong knew that he would not continue, so he took a step back, took a breath, smiled, adjusted his clothes, and walked towards the door. Wait a minute, Lianrulan hurriedly called Yekong, although her clothes were all there, but her face was too red to be seen, and people could see and guess what was going on. Taking advantage of Lianrulan's short period of time to adjust his breathing, Yekong also calmed down the undulating mood slightly, and flicked his fingers underneath to try to prevent people from seeing abnormal shapes. But just as he was standing at the door, he suddenly heard someone talking outside the small door in the hanging basket. "Master, this is all true," a man's voice came. "How could it be? How could Rulan fancy a little monk who practiced gas?" a woman's crisp voice sounded. When Yekong heard it, he condensed God, which obviously meant that he and Lien Rulan. I only heard the man's voice and said, "Master, you are well prepared. Sister Rulan would like to let that minor repair worship under Master King Ye's door. If something really happens in the future, it's coming to us." "Say, what a shame." The woman's voice, called Master, snorted, probably ignoring the apprentice's apprenticeship, and then she hummed, "Bai Yanfen, don't think I don't know what you're thinking." Bai Yanfen smiled awkwardly, "Master, I am also thinking of the reputation in the mountain, although, the child is to Master Rulan, but you can't always watch her form a gang with a gas refiner." Hearing the outside dialogue, Yekong wanted to hear a few more words, but who knew that Lien Rulan adjusted her breathing quickly and came over and said, "Okay, let's go out." As soon as Lien Rulan spoke, there was no sound outside, and Yekong had only opened the small door of the hanging basket. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 164. 163 Red Ancestors. Outside the gondola, it is also a very large platform. Just like a large helicopter apron, after the gondola has landed one by one, slowly drag it on the ground, and then lift it off the ground from the other side of the platform. At this moment, a pair of male and female monks stood outside. That man is Brother Bai, whom he had seen before, and the woman, presumably, is his master, the ancestor of Hung Ham. Yekong has heard from Master Ma's introduction and knows that this ancestor of the Red Ancestor was the ancestor of the early Yuan Ying, the last of the 5 giants of Ling Yaoshan, and the sister of Master Liao Rulan. However, although the ancestor of Hung Ham is the younger sister of Hung Ham, he looks younger and younger than the ancestor of Hung Ham, with red lips and white teeth, a palace dress and eyebrows, and a handsome and charming figure. The rolling hills inside. Lien Rulan didn't hear the outside conversation, so she was a little surprised to see the ancestor of Hung Ham, and hurried up to see Li. "Meet the uncle." Lien Ruolan Ting Ting stepped forward and said nicely. "Excuse me, is this going out smoothly?" the ancestor of Hung who motioned for Rulan to get up and asked casually, but his eyes were staring at Yekong behind, and he could see the hair in Yekong. "He's a fairy board, I'm handsome, I don't need you to look at it like this, right?" "What do you mean by this look? You say bad things behind me, and you can't make sense." Yekong Gli thought, looking back at the ancestor of Hung Ham without fear. Refining gas repair is also dignified. The old ancestor of Hung Hu was stunned. "I thought that this minor repair saw the appearance of Yuan Ying's ancestors. It must have scared his legs and feet. Reliance is still arrogant." Lien Rulan didn't know that their eyes were facing each other, and quickly replied, "Uncle Sun, this experience is quite smooth." Rulan not only saw the human world, but also made a lot of good friends. Then he looked back at Ye. Kong Yan Ran beckoned, and then introduced, "This is a friend I met during my trip, Ye Kong. How many times have he saved?" Then he said to Yekondeo, not yet saluting, "This is our top 5 mountain of medicine. One of the monks of Yuan Ying, the ancestor of Hung Ham. I've seen the ancestors of the Red Cricket. Yekong came to your land at first and didn't want to offend people, let alone the difficulty of refining Rulan, so he had to lower his posture and come to see the ceremony." The ancestor of Hung Ming smiled proudly, "Dare to love this boy is really ignorant and fearless. Now I heard that I am Yuan Ying, afraid. I thought you were bold." The ancestor of the Red Cricket did not give Yekong a face. He did not answer to Yekong's salute, but taught to Ruolan, "Ruolan, the world outside is not as simple as our mountains. People approach you with a purpose, So do nt make friends accidentally, you won't be able to regret it then. Ye Kong heard the scolding in his heart. This woman is really abominable. Lao Tzu has provoked you. He devalued people in person. I think your masters and apprentices are the ones who have conjecture. Ye Kong thought of it, and retracted the ceremony, and stood aside. Shit, you do nt give face, do nt even think about getting face from me. Lien Ruolan also heard the ancestors of Hung Ham. Although the Hung Ham ancestors were good to her, she could not let people vilify Ye Kong. He retorted at the moment, Uncle, although people are speculative, but I believe that there are still people who are just and selfless. Otherwise, wouldn't the Xianxian realm want to become the beast world? Ye Kong listened so loudly that in the end he was Lao Tzu's future double repair partner, and what he said became more and more styleless. The ancestor of Hung Ham did not expect that the wise niece of the teacher who had always been so good would hit her like this. She couldn't help but look at Lien Ruolan, but she couldn't answer. Brother Bai couldn't stand any more, and quickly came out and rebuked, Sister, how can you talk to master like this? Or in front of an outsider, you are too rude. Huh, is it useful for you to come out and help? Ye Kong said to himself behind the back, polite. At least we have no bad words behind us, no small actions behind us. Brother Bai was ridiculed and flushed, and couldn't help getting angry and shouting, Hey, what do you say? Tell me clearly. Who speaks badly behind someone? Ye Kong haha laughed, Brother Bai, what are you excited about? I didn't say you again. Oh, Brother Mofe often talks bad things behind people, oops, disrespect, I said wrong, in fact, people talk bad things behind, it is this kind of good character has been passed down for thousands of years and has been passed down from generation to generation. It is precisely because of the generations of Brother Bai that people have inherited the ancient virtues of this Kangnan continent. Ye Kong mocked and ridiculed, and said Brother Bai was red for a while and white for a while, but he couldn't answer it, because he didn't know whether Lien Ruolan had heard his conversation with the ancestor of Hung Ham. Enough, the old ancestor of Hong Yu yelled angrily, and threw a sentence at Ye Kong, crazy ignorance. After finishing, he took Brother Bai into the hanging basket and left. When he got into the hanging basket, Brother Bai said poorly to the ancestral ancestor of Red Man, Master, the boy made the kid scold like that, Master wants to be my master. In fact, he was anxious that the ancestor of Hung Ham had just angered and killed the kid before he was relieved and happy. However, the ancestors of Hung Ham laughed. The monks should pay attention to the state of mind when they practice. You can't stand even a little monk saying a few words, how can you be advanced? Master said. Brother Bai quickly accepted with an open mind, but he hated Ye Kong even more. The old ancestor of Hung Ham said, this little repairman is so fierce that you can't fight. Now Ruolan has a good relationship with him. If he kills him, he won't forgive you for life. The most hopeful thing in this kind of casual repair it is to join us in the cultivation of immortals, so the best way is to let him fail to worship and drive him out of the mountain of magic medicine. This is the biggest punishment for him. Brother Bai's eyes lighted and he nodded, Master is really bright. In fact, the ancestor of Hung Ham did not agree to speak to Brother Bai at first. After all, it was a mischief to destroy the path of worshipping a small refiner. This kind of thing was too pretentious. Hung Ham, a young ancestor, dismissed it. But at the sight of the two, Hung Ham still made a decision. The key is that she saw that Lien Ruolan was really interesting to the boy. Moreover, when Lien Ruolan stepped out of the hanging basket, the slightly red face made people think about it. Lien Pian. It seems that worship is going to be yellow. Ye Kong smiled slightly. This time he was really bad at school. First, he encountered Yi Menying who deliberately disturbed him. This was counted by the villain. His old ancestors had a bad impression on him and most of them would not succeed. Lien Ruolan hurriedly said, don't be discouraged. When I turn back and ask for my master, she will promise. There are thousands of monks in Lingyaoshan. Is it so difficult to take a person? Sometimes it's so difficult. Yekong also did not attack Lian Ruolan's enthusiasm. In fact, he also wanted to be with Lian Ruolan, Qingqing and me every day in Linjiao Mountain. So cool. Let it be. Yekong laughed and followed Lian Ruolan to the alchemy square. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 165. 164 Alchemy Room. When standing on the platform, the temperature is very high, because it is close to the sea of magma and fire, but although it is hot, it can be tolerated as a monk, not even sweat. After leaving the platform, there is a long and narrow passage behind. When Yekong walks in, he finds a cold and comfortable water aura coming towards him, just as comfortable as entering an air-conditioned room on a hot day. It's so hot outside, why is it so cool here? Yekong couldn't help asking. You will know when you go in. Lian Ruolan sold a secret mysteriously. Through the martyrdom, there was a huge room in front of him. The room was very high and very wide, but the most remarkable thing was that there was an enormous ice cube in the room, just like an iceberg. Around the iceberg, from time to time, monks come to take away 1 or 2 large irregular ice cubes. Lian Ruolan asked with a smile, guess what it is for? Yekong smiled and said, let me guess what these ice cubes are for. Although the ground temperature is high, for the monks, as long as they do not fall into the sea of fire, there will be no problems, so these ice cubes are definitely not used as air conditioning. Well, it is used to reduce the indoor temperature. I guess that this ice cube must be used to cool the elixir after refining it. Yekong had watched Huan Quan's ancestors refining Pigudan, and knew that the temperature of the freshly refined elixir was high, so it was speculated that these ice cubes were used to cool the elixir. Lian Ruolan nodded frequently, but smiled after Yekong said, you're wrong, just follow me and see. Lian Ruolan also took an ice cube and put it in the storage bracelet, and then took Yekong into a passage next to the hall. You can see that there are many rooms on the right side of the passage, and on each door, there are the number of the room used by someone. Under the number, there will also be a burning flame mark to tell the latecomers that someone has already used it. The deeper the flame, the higher the temperature of the flame, the better the alchemy is. Many rooms are fixedly used by senior alchemists in the mountains while walking. He introduced Yekong to Yekong. Yekong also realized that the passageway is not flat, but rather slopes downward. Do you have a special room? Yekong asked. Of course, Lian Ruolan said proudly. While talking, a monk could come across. The age seemed not to be young, his beard and hair were all white. Yekong could see through it, and it was estimated that it should be like the Dandan period. Uncle Ma. Lian Ruolan happily greeted, looking very close to this Uncle Ma. Oh, Ruolan, did you come back to practice? Did you see Xiao Ei? Uncle Ma's eyes also smiled into a slit. The two of them chuckled for a while. Yekong heard that the old man was the father of Master Ma, who took him to the Yingban building. The old man was very good at refining Ruolan. Although Yekong didn't like others' thoughts on Lian Ruolan, he had a good impression of Master Ma. Uncle Ma just finished alchemy, went to the lobby to fetch ice cubes, and Lian Ruolan laughed, Uncle Ma, I'll get it for you. Thank you, little Ruolan. Uncle Ma took them into an alchemy room. The alchemy room is not large. You can see the middle of the room when you walk inside. There is a simple bronze-like danding, and under the ding is a crystal brazier. The basin is white and the red flame in the basin. The raging flames did not evoke a few blue flames, but above danding echoed the peaceful sigh of anger, and when you entered the room, you could smell the thick dangxiang. Lian Ruolan introduced, this alchemy does not necessarily mean that the Dan master must be on the sidelines. As long as a tripod of alchemy goes up, you can come and see it after a while. Yekong nodded and asked, what if we leave, this elixir is successfully taken away by others? Uncle Ma smiled, it's not just panacea, Dan Ding may also be taken away. Ye Kong was shocked, the security here is so bad. It's better not to leave. Generally it won't, and it's indispensable. Uncle Ma smiled, took out a jade card, and stroked it on the jade platform in one corner of the room. Yet only then did I see that it turned out that there was a circle of transparent formations around Na Ding. Then Uncle Ma went to Dan Ding, opened the furnace door on the side of Dan Ding, and took out a jade plate from it. I saw dozens of crystal round medicines in it, exuding a white mist, which looked seductive. Extreme. Look at what the ice cube is for. Lien Ruolan smiled at Ye Kong, walked over, and took out the ice cube to Uncle Ma. I saw Uncle Ma rubbing his hand on the tripod jade brazier, the flame in the pot was blocked at a glance, and then he took the ice cube, put it into the danding, and snoring came. Beneath that hot red ding, the bronze nature gradually returned. Ye Kong now realized that the ice cube would cool the tripod furnace, and could cool the extremely high tripod furnace, for fear that this ice cube is not fanbing. How? You guessed wrong. Lien Ruolan came over with a smile, and then whispered in Ye Kong's ear, you can't kiss. The beautiful woman whispered and heard Ye Kong hollow, but Uncle Ma was in front. Ye Kong did not dare to mess around, only he smiled. In order to refining the next pot of elixir, the temperature of the elixir must be lowered. Otherwise, the elixir that has just been made will not burst at such a high temperature, and it will fail. Uncle Ma also saw that Ye Kong was here for sightseeing. As he prepared for the next furnace, he introduced Ye Kong. Oh, that's it. Ye Kong circled around Dan Ding. Lien Ruolan pursed her mouth and smiled, what are you doing? Fancy this tripod. Uncle Ma's cloud-printed green tripod is a rare treasure in our elixir mountain. Not only can you increase the success rate when practicing alchemy, it's still very powerful when the enemy is fighting. Uncle Ma laughed, looking at this girl, if you want to talk about treasures, it's your master's nothingness. That's the treasure of Xianxia in our spiritual medicine mountain. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 166. 165 Success Sign. Ye Kong circled Dan Ding twice, and finally stood on the side of Dan Ding who had a handle, and laughed, is the treasure of Xianxia 100% successful in refining medicine? Uncle Ma shook his head with a smile. It just has a higher chance of success. How can it be 100% successful? Alchemy is not the only factor. The technology and experience of Danji, the quality of alchemy materials, and the strength of the ground fire. Wait, it's very important, it can completely affect the success rate and quality of a pot of elixir. Then what is this place for? Ye Kong smiled, pointing his finger at a small square groove on the side of the marching ding. This groove is half the size of a palm, rectangular, and recessed half an inch into the Mar tripod. It does not look like decoration, but it looks like an institution, but if you look at it again, it seems to be useless. Looking at this groove, Ye Hollow already had an idea, but he did not show anything, so Uncle Ma also doubted it, and replied, that is where the success symbol is placed. The ancient monks have great magical powers. Such spells increase the success rate of alchemy. Uncle Ma said with a sigh, and said, however, the method of making this spell is controlled by the school of alchemy. For a period of time, Danji and Fushi had no relationship. Okay, Fushi has ruled for a long time. In the end, the method of successful Fu run was lost, so now this place is only vacant. Until now, the newly cast tripod has been cancelled. Only the ancient ones Baeting, or imitation Baeting, will have this groove. After Ye Kong heard it, his heart was ecstatic, and his immortals were stubborn, and the success symbol in Lao Tzu's curse book was originally used for this. However, Ye Kong has already cultivated his ability to express his emotions, and smiled lightly, it seems that Uncle Ma is really a treasure. Ancient Baeting is not simple. Uncle Ma twisted his head and shook his head, I'm imitation beading. I made it myself. How could it be an ancient beading? Oh, Uncle Ma, you are busy, and we will go out. Yekong knew that the successful charm in his curse book was a long-lost magic charm. Although he did not react on his face, he was still very excited. It has been lost in ancient times. If it succeeds, what a big market it will be. How many donjis will cry and ask themselves to draw a charm for him. At the beginning, the lower order spells in the lower grade were already a 5% success charm, and now he can see many lower order spells in the lower grade. He was eager to go back and turn over the book of mantras in Zifu to see himself. Is it possible to see a 10% success sign? Increase the alchemy success rate by 10 percentage points. For those masters who need to refine a large amount of elixir or high-quality elixir, how important it is to say it, Ling Yaoshan had to cry and beg to stay here. Of course, it is also very possible to kill yourself and win a successful law. It is estimated that even if Lian Fanshan's good name is out, he can't help moving his heart. No, the news must be kept secret, no one can say it. Although Yekong thought so, in the hanging basket going to the mountain, Lian Ruolan still smiled and asked, "Are you going to make a successful charm?" Yekong was startled. How did this girl know? Well, you haven't heard what master she said. It has been lost in ancient times. Did you come from ancient times when I was Yekong? Really, I am not a dinosaur, Yekong resolutely denied. Huh. Isn't that rune also lost? Lian Ruolan unluckily revealed his lies, and said, when Uncle Ma said success, he saw your eyes blinking and thought lie me, ignore you. Do my eyes blink? Yekong fainted, which was all seen by Lian Ruolan. In the future, it seems that I can't even blink. Of course you blink, every time you have something in your heart and you have an idea, your eyes will blink faster than usual. Yekong stunned, you really know me? Lian Ruolan smiled happily, of course, let's be honest. But don't say it. Yekong basically said that when he said that, he conceded. Lian Ruolan said unpleasantly, I will still harm you. Don't forget, my essence is still with you, you can always kill me. No, I'm afraid you said it accidentally. Can I blame you then? Rest assured, I know what's important and what's not important. Lian Ruolan posted it with a smile, exhaling as if she said, how many pictures can you draw for me? The beauty begged. Yekong reluctantly said, I don't know if it can be used, I haven't painted it, I can't guarantee it. Then let your mother-in-law Xingyan Dan experiment. After the volcanic head of Linjiao Mountain, the two reluctantly separated. Refining Ruolan had to find materials for refining Qinjiandan, and Yekong had to try to draw a successful sign. Of course, anti-counterfeiting the layer must also be developed quickly, otherwise this little secret becomes a secret that everyone in Kangnan knows, then it is not good. Although Yekong is not a stingy man, it will not be inexplicable. Make your secret recipe public. Yekong walked into the Yingban building, just wanting to go up the stairs, but he heard a moving woman's voice behind. Master Yet. Yekong looked back, and saw Yi Menying, who was covered in light gauze, was standing behind him. At this moment, he had no good mood for this beauty, and he wished he could kill him before he came. So there was no good face, and he looked back and said lightly, Yi, ancestor, it's a coincidence. I'm waiting here for you, how can it be unfortunate? Yi Menying said with a smile, don't call it ancestor, it makes me look very old. You call me Yi Shaman, or easy shopkeeper. Yekong didn't have time to talk with her, and he said politely, Ye ancestors can just say something when I have a word. I am Yekong is just a minor repair of the 5 elements and roots, like an ant. You can pinch to death. You don't need to play with me. Because it was in the lobby of the Yingban building, Yekong's words were heard by several female monk waiters. They couldn't help but utter a tongue. This little Chiu Xiu Niu X, actually speaking so loudly to an old ancestor of Jidan, was really bold. But unexpectedly, the old ancestor Jidan endured it again and again, as if he had a handle in his hands. It was really strange. Could this old ancestor of Jindan look at this little white face? Yi Manying is actually very annoyed. Even if I mess up with you, there is no need to do this. Besides, are you really not afraid that I will be angry? This is not the place to talk, go to your room and say, Yi Manying said with a look around. Why don't you go to your room and say, Yekong has never been a good-natured person, and still hates it in Yi Manying. Is the woman's room casually entered, Yi Manying rolled his eyes with anger. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 167. I lost 6 or 6 as my fellow. Will the man's room be free to enter? Who are you when I am Yekong? I am also a serious lady and I will not easily bring women back to the room to mess around. Why are you so stingy? Yi Manying was about to vomit blood, as if he begged him to bring himself back to the house to him. Never seen such a bad speaker. When you block my future, I have offended you in the previous words. How dare you say that I am stingy? Yekong snorted, say something here. Yi Manying looked at his drag, and really wanted to sacrifice his magic weapon to kill it to the slag, but in the end he took a sigh of relief and whispered, Yezioxiu, no wonder I obstruct your future. It is better. The future of my house is no worse than that of the Elixir Mountain, which can be given to you by the Eucalyptus Mountain, and I can also give it to you, and you won't be taken seriously here, but in my house be a guest. Yekong heard what she said, and immediately understood that Yi Manying had done bad things for himself. She wanted to solicit herself. This woman was acting treacherous, and she had exhausted all the tricks of digging corners in the mall. Seeing Yekong not talking, Yi Manying said, when the Yi family is employed, the elixir of spirits will never owe you. Come to my Yi family must be several times stronger than the Elixir Mountain. Yi Manying is very nice to talk about, but Yekong is unwilling to agree. I think that the Yi family is a business, mainly to make money. If you go, you must give them a day and night to squeeze their surplus value. In this way, although Lingxi has made more money, the time available for practice is gone. The immortal should focus on improving the realm. If he renounces the practice for the purpose of making money, the result is to have a life and make a life. Yekong made up his mind and refused. Xia Yi's kindness, Ye has no intention of going to a business to make money. Yi Manying was in the mall for a long time. Yekong said that she immediately understood the meaning, smiled ironically, and asked, are you trying to build a foundation? Foundation. Lao Tzu also has to be a god. Yekong smiled, what? I didn't believe I would break through the early stage of gas refining, but this time I still don't believe I would build a foundation. The roots of the 5 elements are able to break through the early stage of gas refining. It is a coincidence that you still want to build the foundation? You dream. I think you're pretty sure. Yi Manying laughed, and suddenly she thought that this kid was also very sure that she would break through last time. Will we bet? Yekongzi smiled. What to gamble? Yi Manying did not flinch. If I build the foundation within 10 years, you will be my dual monk. Yekong smiled and stared at Yi Manying's eyes. In fact, Yekong also made fun of him. He already had Lianrulan as a priest and was very satisfied. Yi Manying did not expect that the boy actually said such a word. His face turned red, and his eyes flashed angrily. She has a lot of beauty, but no one dares to say it face to face, not to mention, this boy is only 4 levels of refining gas, 2 levels lower than himself. Really, I don't know how to write the dead words. However, her anger was immediately suppressed, and smiled, is it? I bet you. Yekong fainted and said, even if I build the foundation, it is much lower than you. You promised to be my companion? But to be honest, this shadow beauty is really beautiful, and I do nt know how beautiful the face behind Xianxia is. And that figure, if there was one day, it would be on her. Wow, a certain brother would not be upset. Looking at Yekong's eyes turning, Yimenying knew that he might not think of something good, and she smiled coldly, and said, "Rest assured, I will pay attention to you, even if you have the ability to build the foundation." Flash continued, "I won't make you successful." After Yimenying said, "Haha," turned away with a smile. The two of them were talking with each other. Others could not hear them, but they could see expressions. The waitresses speculated, it must be that the nun who sent the nun back to divorce his wife. The nun was unwilling to do so, but the nun was threatened by her own cultivation, threatening to kill his entire family if he did not divorce, and then laugh leaving, so the male Shiu only stood stupid and stupefied. The waiters laughed. They were afraid of senior monks, but they were not afraid of Yekong, the Lianqi 4, so Yekong heard them. "There are so many gossip girls in Xianxian realm." Yekong snorted, ignored them, went upstairs to study his own spell protection film. Upstairs in the welcome building, Yekong looked at the charm in front of him with relief. This is the charm he added with a protective layer. He scraped it with a small sword, and saw that the coating of Samadhi real fire flashed immediately and ignited. Mammoth Beast Bone, a magic charm, instantly turned into a ball of flame, burned into powder. "Look who can learn my yes charms again." Yekong smiled, nodded with satisfaction, and with this anti-theft coating, no one could learn his secret spell. And most definitely, the mammoth bones used in this coating are very scarce. Those who are pirated can't even learn the anti-theft coating. At his proud moments, a bright ray of golden light suddenly flew from outside the French circle. Yekong raised his hand and took the note. Looking into the spirit, this note was sent by Lianrulan. It turned out that most of the materials needed for Qingjian Dan were found, but there are still two kinds of Qing willow grass and Mt Kuakuashan, so Lianruolan was going to buy it at Fangxi in Linjiashan. He asked Yekong if he had time to go to Fangxi in Linjiao. Ye was idle and had nothing to do. Now he sorted things out, closed the array, and came to the concierge hall in front of the gate of Lingyaoshan. "Would you like to go to Fangxi? I just need to buy some materials, so let's go together." When he came to the concierge hall, the horsemen on duty heard that they were going to Fangxi, so they had to follow along. Lianrulan wanted to go with Yekong. No one expected an extra light bulb, but it was not easy to refuse, so he had to bring Ma Shi to Yekong with a bitter smile. What is even more surprising is that when the three of them were about to leave, Brother Bai hurriedly rushed and said that there was something important about King Gluo's ancestor asking Lianrulan to go back. So in the end, it turned out that Ma Shi and Yekong went to Fangxi. "All right, Brother Ma, let's go." Yekong looked back at Brother Sneer, unwilling to talk to the villain, and took off the blanket. The flying instrument used by Master Ma is a green gourd called Kingdom Gourd. It is also a Chinese-style magic weapon, but in addition to flying, this green dan gourd also has a use, which is to store elixir. The most amazing thing is, the longer the storage time, the quality of the elixir will become more pure. Of course, it is only effective for the lower quality pallor, and those pallors have no effect after 1 year or 2. You said that it took 10 years and 8 years to refine a furnace of high-quality chemical alchemy, and it really belongs to idle eggs. To the reader. Lianrulan bowed her head and said shamefully, "Little thief, those guys who don't read the bricks book, don't deal with them in the future." Haha, Xiaoman broke out, "Don't forget the bricks." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 168. 167. Like Lianrulan, Master Ma was envious of Yekong's flying carpet. Watching Yekong lie down and fly comfortably, he could only sit cross-legged. "Yedaiu, although your flying instrument is simple, it is really comfortable and tight, Master Ma said with a smile. Yeah, Hollow Road, what is comfortable? When I go back to the southern capital, bring Lu Xiaohong, a 3P war in heaven and earth, it is really no one before and no one, even the puppets of those island nations can only look forward to Sai. Comfortable? How can Ma Dao's gourds be comfortable? Not only are they comfortable but also good looking. Putting your legs down and fooling between the gourds is like riding a horse, Yekong also answered with a smile. In the past, Ma Shizi was sitting cross-legged on a raised part in front of the gourd, and was reminded by Yekong that he really rode in the depression between the two mountains, and then laughed. Ye Dao is really a good person, and I am really happy to be with you. Brother Ma laughed, learned to ride a horse, and yelled after clapping, drive. Hurry, don't take care of the whip of this ferry. Yekong and this Ma Shidi also had a bad temper, and the two flew north for half an hour, and they arrived at the city of Lingyao Shanfang. Generally, Fang City is not far from Xianxia School, which is convenient for contacting the delivery of goods. However, there is no school that will set Fang City in the school. After all, there are many fish and dragons in Fang City. When I came to Linjiao Shanfang City, Yekong looked at it, it was really much bigger than Beizongmen. The monks came and went, and the realm level was a grade higher than Beizai village, and the square market here opened daily. This is the Fangxi of Linjiao Mountain. With the core disciple of Master Ma, it has been a lot smoother. Soon, some people found 2 herbs that Qinjiandan needed. The price was also very cheap. 10 just a spirit stone solved it. Yekong's affairs were done, and Master Ma laughed, follow me with the spirit. Episode, Yekong was the first time he heard the term and wanted to see it, so he went with Master Ma. On the road, Master Ma introduced that this attachment spirit is a practice between the 3 types of refining, charm, and formation. It is now very rare. This is the secret transmission skill of the refining sect, not only and easily do not help people. The spirit is a unique rune inscribed on the magical instrument. This rune is different from the rune on the spell. It is more like a matrix and is called spiritual rune. After enchanting, not only the power of the magic weapon has been greatly improved, but some can also add new attributes. However, not all magic instruments can be added, and the attributes are also different. According to the characteristics of the magic instruments, the appropriate runes can be carved to have magic effects. The two said that it was not the first time Ma Shixi had come to the shop of the refiner, and the guys in the shop hurriedly led them to the 2nd floor. A chubby shopkeeper greeted him warmly. Catch tea to 2 monks at Linjiao Mountain. Under the last name you, let me be the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper saw that Yekong was here for the first time, so he introduced himself and did not despise Yekong's practice. After all, they still do business on the land of the Elixir Mountain. There was a small tea girl sending spiritual tea, and Master Ma opened the door to see the mountain road. At the shopkeeper, my master just made a magic weapon for me, and I want to attach a spirit to it. Oh, it's a magical tool used by the ancestors to refine Fanshan. It must be extraordinary. If there is a mistake in the spirit, the shopkeeper is really reluctant to take this break. They are not mainly engaged in this spirit business. It's not good enough to offend the close disciples of Lian Fanshan, and he is very passive. Anyway, I believe that if your professional craftsmanship skills are really damaged, it can only show that I have no chance with Ma Xiao Ei. Mr. Ma said generously. The shopkeeper was not good enough to quit, so he said, then please invite Ma Dao to take a look. When Yekong looked, Master Ma took out a small umbrella with a big palm, very refined, and then looked at it. It was a top-grade defensive weapon, which made Yekong have to admire that this martial art is a cow, master. All are top-grade defense instruments. Originally, the defense weapon was precious or top quality, and the shopkeeper also carefully picked it up, praising, the ancestor of the world is really extraordinary, the crafted tool is several times better than our master's master. Although the shopkeeper is a compliment, this small umbrella is really exquisite. Brother Ma smiled, this is my master made of the skin on the neck of the top leopard. It can not only defend against substantive attacks, but also resist spiritual attacks. I named it the Beast Umbrella. Oh, opening the umbrella by the shopkeeper, she really saw the colorful patterns on the umbrella. The shopkeeper looked at it slightly, and then said, I see that this spotted beast umbrella is a defensive weapon. It is better to attach a spiritual text to increase the defensibility, which makes the spotted beast umbrella stronger defense. Upon hearing the joy, Brother Ma smiled, that is of course, I also thought about it. Attaching a little attack or additional attributes is not useful at all, it is better to make it stronger. Yekong also nodded when he heard this. The skin of the top-grade spirit beast had amazing defense power. Huang Quan's ancestors said that the top-grade defense magic weapon can resist even a destiny magic weapon. You can't pierce advanced instinct magic? However, Yekong also thought that if the super flying sword recorded in his 5 spirits was made, I am afraid that this top-level defense weapon is not an opponent. The Kangbei cold fire sword, Shenbi Wujinjian, etc. Well, that's shocking. However, the refining of the destiny device must have a Dan period. At present, he is only refining the 4th layer of guess. The difference is too far, and then think about the materials needed. Yekong only smiled bitterly. Yekong walked away with a bitter smile, and just happened to be discovered by Master Ma. He asked, Yedaiu, why do you make this expression, do you also have a magic weapon? Yekong just returned to God and was reminded by Brother Ma that he said, yeah, why don't I attach a spirit to the magical instrument? I will come by myself later, I am afraid that people will not accept it. Yes, of course I have to attach it, Yekong said quickly. But he wondered, what was attached? Small sword weapon, no, Huang Quan's ancestor is inside, how can it be given to others? Ink purse on your body? It's still not right to think about it. This inkwell skin is much more precious than the skin of the striped leopard. The inkwell armor is invisible, and it can also defend itself. It must be a better layer than the horse's brother's spotted beast umbrella. And this thing, try not to let others see it, it has an unexpected effect, so it is not convenient to take it out in front of Master Ma. Other instruments, Yekong was troubled. There are really a lot of bone swords, bird claws, beast heads, and bone shields in his storage bag, but those are all rubbish. Considering that the barbarian monks are not ordinary poor, they killed more than 20 foundation building monks. There are few instruments of the 8 classics. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 169. 168 Refiner. Seeing Yekong thinking, the shopkeeper couldn't help but remind him, Yedaiu, the cost of the spirit, it's not high. Upon hearing this, Brother Ma suddenly thought, yeah, he really does, knowing that people have no money for casual repairs, and gave him spiritual support. He was worried about money. Oh, this is okay. Yekong lifted his eyelids and had a plan, patted the storage bag, and took out a brass bell crotch. Zhongpinyin attacker, Dementor bell. Yekong took out this thing, but let the shopkeeper look at him more than once. Originally, he heard Master Shi's name Yekong, not Shi's nephew, but Daoyu, which means that this Ye is not a man of elixir. Think of a low-level minor repair, what powerful tools can you come up with? But who knows, he actually took out a Dementor bell. Although the sound tapping device is not a rare horn, it is also rare to see, because the person making this sound tapping device must understand the melody. Those monks only understand cultivation. How many understand the rhythm? I don't know what kind of spiritual text Yedai will attach, you treasurer asked with a bell back and forth. Yekong laughed. I don't hide it from the shopkeeper. I don't know which spiritual texts. I can't help but attach the spiritual texts that increase the range of sound attack and strength. The shopkeeper shook his head. We don't really have such a spiritual script in our refining sect, and the sound tapping tools are scarce. Who would spend the energy to study what kind of spiritual script is on it? Yekong listened, smiling bitterly, and took another thing out of the storage bag. He was about to speak, but he heard it from the shopkeeper again. In general, instruments such as bells are sleepy except for the sound attack. You don't have much room for Dementor bells, but sleepy ones can be trapped with Jindan or Yuan Ying. It is better to inscribe the spirit of sleepy souls. In this way, after killing the opponent, he can't escape, waiting for Jindan or Yuan Ying to be trapped inside the bell, naturally increasing the intensity of this bell's offensive attack. Okay, Yekong heard a big joy. If it was really as the shopkeeper said, the power of this Dementor bell doubled immediately. It can not only capture the soul with sound, but also trap its spirit, and finally increase the power of bell sound. That's really good. Haha, that Yedayu Dementor bell can be renamed Dementor bell later. Brother Ma also laughed. Well, a Dementor bell, at the shopkeeper, just do it this way. After Yekong decided, he put his contents in a storage bag. However, Brother Ma saw his eyes sharply, busy holding Yekong's hand, and said, "This is the destiny magic weapon. The bone ruler taken out by Yekong is the innate magic weapon of Gu Lingman Xia Yuan Hao." He wanted to come up and ask if this thing could be used by himself. Later, with the Dementor bell, he didn't want to asked, but was seen by Master Ma. "I heard that it is a magic weapon, and the shopkeeper is busy watching it, although Xia Yuan Hao's destiny magic weapon is not very good, but after all, it is also a monk's object. You should know that the destiny magic weapon and the monk Jidan are connected with each other by heart and heart. Basically, the destiny magic weapon will only be lost if the monk has died. Of course, there are people who have been stolen or destroyed, just like Huang Quan's ancestors. The monks who lost the magic weapon will be seriously injured, so Yekong took them to surprise them. Refining 4 layers of gas, kill monk Jidan? Tell no one to believe it? Yekong didn't expect to show them anything, and laughed. "This is when I was traveling, I met a real dead Jidan and picked it up from his body." Although they are a little unbelievable, but think about it, it is possible. The simpler and more bizarre lies are, the easier it is for others to believe. Then Yekong asked again, "Can this natal magic weapon be used as a magic weapon?" The treasurer took the bone ruler, looked back and forth, shook his head, and said, "The destiny magic weapon can only be used as a magic weapon. You can't use it until you get a dandan, but this magic weapon is for a monk. Use it after it has been made." "Is that useless?" Yekong was a little depressed, and killed 2 monks Jidan, but the benefits did not drop much. The shopkeeper laughed. "It's useful, you can disassemble it into materials. Generally, the natal magic weapon is complicated to make and the materials are precious." But he looked at the bone ruler and laughed. "But you magic weapon, most of them are animal bones, and disassembling them is not useful to you. Sell a lot of spirit stones." Yekong has no shortage of spirit stones. Of course, he will not dismantle the flowers and sell them again. He can make a few more money. It is better to put them in a storage bag. But the treasurer of Yuting will sell his secrets. One of them attracted Yekong's attention in the past, and only listened to him. "We currently have an ancestor of the Yuanying ancestor nearby. I can ask him to help you make this magic weapon into a few runes. I wonder if you are willing? This bone ruler is useless, if you can make Fubao, it is not bad." Yekong has seen the Fubao used by the real human bald, and it is really powerful, but the one from the real human bald, it is the last time to use it, so Yekong did not get a charm when he killed the bald human. Treasure. So long after stepping into Xianxian realm, Yekong hadn't owned Fubao yet. This stuff must be the ancestor of Yuanying, and it is made with innate magic. How many people know the ancestor of Yuanying? Even if you know, where do you find your magic weapon? Therefore, Fu Bao is still quite scarce. Of course, the power is also very great. Once Fu Bao comes out, basically, the foundation period can be steadily unbeaten. Fu Bao, which is made by some powerful magic weapons, is a brother Shang Jidan can also resist slightly. Okay, please ask your ancestors to make it. There is work. Yekongli even wanted to take out another garden mirror magic weapon to practice amulet treasure, but the bone ruler said to them just now. Come, this time take out another natal magic weapon. Can it be said that it was picked up? This magic weapon is too easy to pick. Yekong agreed to refining, and then the shopkeeper smiled again. This time, he was a little embarrassed. Yekong looked at it and knew that the boy wanted the lion to open his mouth. He cried poorly, "You shopkeeper, you see me the little monk who has 4 levels of anger, I do nt have many spirit stones. Do nt kill me, slaughter him if you want to slaughter." Brother Ma saw Yekong pointing at himself, he was going to vomit blood, and he said that your boy was too despicable. He smiled at the moment, "Your shopkeeper, everyone is an old acquaintance. Don't kill me, don't look at me as the core disciple of Ling Yaoshan, and we don't have a lot of spiritual stone offerings. Don't look at him as a refining Chi Kixiu, in fact, is fatter than me. Once you take it, it is a magic weapon. I do nt even have a magic weapon." To the reader. Lian Ruolan bowed her head and said shamefully, "Little thief, those guys who don't read the bricks book, don't deal with them in the future, haha." Xiaomen broke out, "Don't forget the bricks. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 170. 169 Fuebao. The shopkeeper haha laughed and was embarrassed by the two of them. He embarrassedly spoke, and calculated and said, "The horse's spotted beast umbrella has a spirit, and it is not complicated, so you receive 300 spirit stones. Although this price is not cheap, and it does not engrave some characters on the implement, it will require 300 spirit stones, but this is not available elsewhere, and it can be accepted by Master Ma, and it is nodded." Then Yekong's Dementor Bell, because it was more complicated, was blackmailed to 500 spirit stones. He refused to bargain. Yekong had no choice but to respond. After all, he spent 500 spirit stones, letting the Dementor Bell turned into a Dementor Bell, and it was worth it. And that bone ruler is made into Fu Bao. There is no need for spirit stones, on the condition that the Fu Bao, which is made by one person, is half a person. According to the shopkeeper, it is estimated that 4 or 5 pieces will be made. That is to say, at least 2 pieces of refiner sect will be obtained. This Fuebao is a valuable and non-marketable thing. If it is taken to the auction, it is possible to sell 2,000 spirit stones. This guy is so unscrupulous, but others have an unscrupulous truth. According to the shopkeeper, according to the power of the magic weapon to decompose magic, you can make countless pieces, but the more the number, the more garbage. If there are only 4 cards, then each will get 25% of the magic power, which is quite powerful. Generally, monks who have just entered the Dandan period can only use 20% or 30% of the power of magic weapons, and this rune can reach this power. Yekong was using the waste anyway, and he didn't want to pay for it. He was very satisfied at the moment, and agreed to take delivery within 5 days. Yekong and Ma Shixi both walked out of the shop of the refining sect with great relief. Coincidentally, they just walked away, and another one came in the shop. They were tall and big, with long beards. They looked like a majestic middle-aged man who turned out to be an ancestor in the mid-Dandan period. The guy looked at the big business again, and quickly took the middle-aged man upstairs to see the shopkeeper. This repair is your neighbor. Although the middle-aged man's face is not good looking, he smiled at the shopkeeper. I am Lu Zhen of Qingming Valley. The shopkeeper didn't know the man, and quickly saluted. It was originally Brother Lu of Qingming. I don't know what the shop can do for you, he said. His heart was strange. Shop, why is he begging to come closer? Lu Zhen said politely. Lu is here, not a refiner, but to find someone. The shopkeeper wondered, who? Monk Bone Spirit Door Xiaohui. Lu Zhen has asked many shops, almost desperate. He had been waiting for the shopkeeper to shake his head, but at this moment, his eyes suddenly lighted. He saw several instruments on the table where Ye Kong placed them. Among them, the Dementor bell was so conspicuous. This Lu Zhen is the father of Lu Ziun, the evil repairer who was killed by Ye Kong. When he found Beizai village, he learned that his daughter had been killed. Infurious, he arrested the barbarian monk Ziji, but this Ziji also a tough guy. He didn't reveal a word until he died, but he was holding on, saying that he had killed Lu Ruyun himself. Although Ziji was hard-hearted, but many people knew about it, other people were not so hard-hearted. He was threatened by Lu Jinai and immediately recruited, saying that it was Xiaohui who was the backbone of the spirit. When he got the news, Lu Zhen rushed to the Bingling Gate immediately, but when he arrived, Bingling Gate was almost destroyed, and asked the few monks who had not died, saying that Xiaohui had not returned. How can I not kill the woman's revenge? Besides, it's a little monk who refined the fourth layer of gas. Of course, Lu Zhen is going to kill and then quickly. He inquired that Xiaohui's technique is good. He guessed that Xiaohui must be afraid of revenge. He went to the other Fangxi city, so Lu Zhen came to the closest elixir, Shanfang city. I asked many stores and said that I had never heard of this person. Just when Lu Zhen was about to despair, he saw the Dementor bell on the table, which was what he gave his daughter Lu Ruyun to use. Where does the shopkeeper know what Xiaohui? Shook his head and said, Bone Spirit Gate, Barbarian Sect. There are few barbarian sect monks here. Lu Zhen is also an ancestor of Dandan who lived for hundreds of years. Of course, he knew that these shopkeepers would know and would keep the guests confidential, but he had already seen the clues, and didn't say much at the moment. Lu left. When Lu Zhen came downstairs, he heard the shopkeeper talking to his buddy, send these instruments to the backfield, the guests are waiting for them. Lu Zhen looked back, sneered, and said, Xiaohui, see where you run. I have to solve your hatred with every effort. Ye Kong didn't know that he had been stared at by a monk in the middle of Dandan. He and Ma Shizi quarreled, and returned to Linjiashan after a circle in Fangxi city, waiting for the things of the refined sect to come out to ask 5 days. He might as well go back to the mountain to give alchemy materials to Rulan. This time I came to Linjiao Shanfang city. Not only did I upgrade the Dementor bell, but I also made the bone ruler into Fubao. These treasures can make him roam in the ferry road. Safer. Ye Kong was in a good mood, but this good mood lasted until the evening when he returned to Lingyaoshan. Little thief, come with me and have something to tell you. Lian Rulan's eyes were reddish and her brows frowned. Brother Ma was very adept at advancing in a timely manner. Ye Kong took Lian Rulan to the room of the Yingbin building and inserted a spirit stone into the eyes of the front. This space was isolated from the outside. This is the clear willow grass and mesquite you want. Ye Kong passed the 2 alchemy materials. Lian Rulan took the material, sipped his mouth, and Noodles said, Master, she. In fact, Ye Kong had been prepared for a long time. His original qualifications were not good, and because of Yi Meniying's turmoil, the ancestor of King Ai naturally had a view on him. In addition to the words of Brother Bai, the ancestor of King Ai really accepted him. It's time to doubt the ambition of the ancestor of Qing Cheng. Isn't he not accepting me? Ye Kong smiled openly. No grandfather is here. I have my grandfather's office. I am afraid that you will regret it sooner or later. Ye Kong said that when thinking of Yi Menying, this woman had a better vision than her old ancestor, but he did not want to go to the Yi family. You practice faster in the Elixir Mountain, Lien Ruolan said. Ye Kong smiled and shook his head. I don't believe it. Without Ling Yaoshan, I can't build a foundation. But Lien Ruolan flushed, and bowed her head. It's difficult for us to meet. Ye Kong grabbed her little hand and said, if the two feelings last for a long time, how are they going up and down? If the two feelings last for a long time, how are they going to change? Lien Ruolan groaned again, his head smirked. You little thief, don't look at your vulgar words in ordinary days, but you can often take risks. Come out with two classic sayings, honestly explain, is this what the master of your hometown said again? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 171. 170%. Ye Kong haha laughed, yeah, you told me not to deal with the Buddha, I had to deal with those literati. Lien Ruolan said angrily, cheat, when you were dealing with the last name of Buddha, I didn't know you, and I didn't know how many bad things I learned with that guy. Ye Kong took Lien Ruolan to sit on the futon on the ground, and smiled, the guy with the last name Buddha taught me the most powerful trick is to live in heaven and earth, happy Buddha, how about it? Lien Ruolan yelled, it's not a good thing to hear, oh, don't mess around with your hands, that's really not a good thing. In the scolding of Lien Ruolan, she had been laid down by Ye Kong on the futon, because she thought of going to be different. Lien Ruolan was also generous, so that the boy put his hand into her clothes and saw white the wind raged in her thin shirt, and the beauty hummed softly. At the same time, in a cave house in Lingyao Mountain. Master, Sister Ruolan went to that kid's room again, you can control it, Brother Bai said anxiously. Relax, Ruolan won't do anything extraordinary. When the kid gets the elixir to leave, your uncle King Hua will let Ruolan go to the remedy cave, and after a long time, she will naturally forget, it's not long since I met that kid. If you don't meet for 10 or 8 years, maybe you don't know each other afterwards. I hope so, Brother Bai sighed, but his heart was still disturbed. Today, the ancestor of Qingying asked Lien Ruolan not to go with Ye Kong. The girl's excitement made him very uneasy. His vicious eyes flashed, and his heart resentfully said, when the boy left Ling Yaoshan, he must kill the young monk under the sword, and then he will be stable. Probably seeing the sharp color in the eyes of the apprentice, the old ancestor of the red side, it is just a little monk who is the fourth layer of refining gas, or a root of insanity. I can't make you hate it so much. After all, if you have saved Ruolan's life, you don't do anything that makes Ruolan hate you forever, and let others pass by. Brother Bai suddenly woke up and was right. If he killed this little monk by himself, Sister Ruolan would definitely hate himself. Wouldn't it allow Master Ma's enthusiasm to enter without taking advantage of it? The master reminded me that the pupil knew something wrong. Brother Bai hurriedly saluted. Mind, boy, let me leave this time, but with the cultivation of the fourth layer of your gas refining, I will be killed sooner or later. A few days passed, Ye Kong and Lien Ruolan cherished the last time together. Every day when they were free, they became tired together. It can be said that they had done everything except rubbing and scratching. In fact, Lien Ruolan was willing to give himself Ye Kong, but Ye Kong did not break through the last layer. He didn't want Lien Ruolan to have any regrets, and he also had self-esteem. He always felt that when he got Lien Ruolan at this time, there was a way to win by virtue. Intimidating feeling. He has to wait until one day, return strong, and leave Lianyao Mountain with Lien Ruolan, so that he can share happiness with her in his heart. There is a successful sign of Ye Kong, and the practice of refining Ruolan's medicine is smoother. In the past few days, not only has Yeqing needed to clean up the Yan Yan, but she also worked overtime to make a lot of elixir for her sweetheart, just in case he will not be able to obtain these solid medicines in the future. Ye Kong is no longer worried about the elixir. He now has spirits and skills. What is the difficulty in getting some elixir, but each of these elixir has the feeling of refining Rulan, how can he refuse? This is the alchemy and Huanglongdan. The alchemy is used during the gas refining period. When we build the base, we will use Huanglongdan. Lian Rulan muttered and took out a large bag from the storage bracelet. Yekong was dizzy. Rulan, these days, you've made so much elixir. Yekong took the bag in surprise. Isn't that too much? Do you want me to eat it? No, I've got some in it, and I borrowed it from my sister and sister. Borrowed? Will I have to pay back then? Yekong thought the bag was so heavy that he felt heavy in his heart. If he had to pay back, how many days would it take to refinish Rulan before he could repay it? It's okay, I'll slowly practice in the future. You will be angry if you don't accept it. Lian Rulan's mouth narrowed, showing an unhappy expression. Yekong only put the big bag into the storage bag. There are these bottles. Here are Dingyandan. There are 6 in total. In order to prevent you from using my things to please other women, I will not give you more. These 6 are arranged, your father and mother. Sister Lucine, little red sister, and the bad woman with the surname Feng also gave her one. Oh, there is one for you. I don't want to see you in the future, and become an old man. Lian Rulan said, here maybe I thought that I would not see each other until afterwards, so there was a layer of water mist in the beautiful eyes. I'll eat it now. Yekong quickly threw a Dingyandan into his mouth, and then held Lian Rulan's hand, comforted, relax, it won't be long. Well, I believe you. Lian Rulan nodded hard and leaned her head on Yekong's chest. In fact, they both knew that this time, the next meeting will not be very fast, maybe 10 years, or even longer. Yekong's practice is slow in practice. How long will it take to reach the early days? The two of them remained warm for a while, and Lian Rulan took out a lot of elixir, healed, replenished, and even Yejizu's Zujidan, which he used to build the foundation, was ready for him. This Zujidan is very precious. Many monks stay in the refining gas consummation successfully, because they can't break through, because they can't get Zujidan. Those monks who have divisions can only take Zujidan in the martial arts competition. As for the casual repair, it is extremely difficult to get a Zujidan. It can be said that one Zujidan can let countless refining gas scramble to fight for death. After giving the elixir, Lian Rulan took out his own weapon for Yekong to choose, and even gave Yekong a storage bracelet, but these were all rejected by him. You can ask for elixir, but you can't ask for a magic weapon, otherwise I will leave Yekong to eat soft rice. As for the mammoth beast bone, because it is too huge, Yekong only takes a small part. After all, there are not many magic charms that need to be coated with protective film. Those spells that everyone knows how to paint need not be painted. At the same time, Yekong also brought out many successful symbols recently drawn to Lian Rulan, and smiled. These are all 10% successful symbols. When we meet next time, maybe we can give you a percentage. 50% of his successes. Lian Rulan also laughed. If you can really draw a 50% success sign, then a fool can practice alchemy.